Good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to discuss the next topic in our syllabus, that is organotransition compounds with multi-center bonds. And in this category, today we are going to discuss the alkene complexes and especially what type of bonding exist in them. So we will emphasize the nature of bonding in such complexes. Organotransition compounds with multi-center bond. It means that they are the non-classically bound metal complexes. Classically, what you see, classical bonding is what? When the normal metal and ligand bonding is through a bond, and you know that the metal has a bond with carbon atom, right? Then we call it classically bonded organometallic compounds. But there are certain compounds which show the concept of hepaticity. In their case, you do not know to which carbon the metal is having a bond. So, metal is simultaneously attached to multiple centers, and therefore we call them multi-center bond. And such type of bonding is non-classical bonding. So sometimes these compounds are also known as non-classically bonded organometallics. So in this category, first of all, we will see the alkene complexes. These organometallic compounds are basically the pi bonded organometallics, having the pi bond between the transition metal and multiple carbon centers. And the number of carbon centers, they are known as what? They are the hepaticity. So the hepaticity of ligand is to which number of carbon the metal is non-classically bonded, or you can see how many electrons have been donated to the metal orbitals. So the nature of bond between the transition metal and the unsaturated ligand. This is essentially of pi bonding nature. The interactions of the orbitals of unsaturated hydrocarbon with these metals often bring about the novel and non-classical type of bonding. So they are very special category of bonds. And in the view of the lability of many such species, these species are very labile. So what happens? They play an important role in the catalytic reactions of alkene, alkyne and their derivatives. And in fact, many of the catalysts, they also involve such type of complexes. Many of the catalytic reactions involve transition metal carbon monoxide bonding. Carbon monoxide is carbonyl group, okay, CO, metal carbonyl bond. Many catalytic reactions involve such type of complexes as well, the nature of which is in some ways similar to that in the pi bonded organometallics. And they are also like what? They are showing the pi bond. As we can see that we have already discussed what is the nature of bonding in metal carbonyl complexes. So we have seen that they have d pi p pi type of bond, and that we have seen through the uh, Dewar-Chad-Dickinson model that we discussed in somewhere in unit 3. So we discussed what type of bonding exists in metal carbonyl organometallics, and we know that both the metal organometallics of the transition metal in these pi bonded ligand and the carbonyl complexes, they both follow the Sedgwick effective atomic number rule, or which is known as the 18 electron rule. So they follow this rule also. So when you try to classify such hydrocarbon complexes, especially when the unsaturated hydrocarbons are involved, right? In case of the saturated hydrocarbons, when they form the complexes with the metal center, then they are called as the sigma bonded organometallics, and that we have seen in the unit 1 and unit 2. The example was alkyl, aryl, acyl. These were the organometallic compounds having classical bonding. So in case of unsaturated hydrocarbon, when you try to classify them, the, the criteria would be number of electrons formally available without reference to whether they are involved or not, which can only be inferred from the structure of the complex. So the number of electrons formally available from the neutral hydrocarbon or hydrocarbon radical. So on the basis of availability of number of electrons, you can classify such hydrocarbon complexes containing the pi bonding. So in the first category, we have alkene and alkyne organometallics. Alkene and alkyne, the ligand, when they are behaving like a ligand and they are attached to some metal center, they will essentially form pi bond and they are capable of donating 2 electrons. So these are 2 electron donors. So what we write with them, we write eta 2. Eta 2 is written along with them. So here you can see the example. It is a complex of platinum containing 3 chloride and 1 ethylene. And what is the common name of this compound? If you know, this complex is known as rice salt. Rice salt we will separately discuss. Its structure and bonding is really important. And after discussing the structure and bonding of alkene organometallics, we will discuss rice salt. So, in the next example here, again you can see eta 2 is written here because why eta 2 is written here? Because the alkene is capable of donating 2 electrons via pi bonding. And why is it so? Because the alkene will have a double bond in it, right? So that double bond is imparting the unsaturated nature to the alkene, and in that double bond, the pi bond, it contains 2 electrons, and these 2 pi electrons, they are used for the formation of pi bond between metal and the ligand. So since the ligand is able to donate 2 electrons, 2 pi electrons, we call it what? Eta 2 type of ligand. The second example you can see here, it is allylic organometallics. In the allylic organometallics, you have 3 electron donors. Here, the ligand can donate 3 electrons, and therefore we write eta 3 for them. So here you can see an example of a nickel complex. In the third category, the ligand is able to donate 4 electrons, and therefore we write eta 4 along with it. So as you can see here, this is metal carbonyl alkene complex. 3 carbonyls are attached here, and 1 butadiene is attached as a ligand. In the allylic organometallic, we have allyl or substituted allyl group behaving like a ligand, and it is donating 3 electrons. And in case of diene organometallics, we have generally butadiene or the substituted butadiene, and it is behaving like a pi ligand. And since it is donating 4 electrons, because it has 2 double bond, right? So due to presence of 2 double bond, it is able to donate 4 electrons. Therefore we write eta 4. Then cyclopentadienyl organometallics. So here the cyclopentadienyl cation is involved, and it can donate 5 electrons. So eta 5 is written here. This is a complex of iron along with the cyclopentadienyl. And what is the common name of this complex? It is generally known as ferrocene, and it has a very famous sandwich-like structure. So that we will also discuss the sandwich-like structure of ferrocene. In the next category, we have arene organometallics, which is able to donate 6 pi electrons. So we write eta 6 along with it. Again, you can see the similar complexes like in case of the cyclopentadienyl. They are also showing the sandwich-like structure, 2 ligands and a metal atom in the center of these 2 ligands. So this is a complex of vanadium, and this is a complex of chromium. So here eta 6 is written. These are the pi bonded or non-classically bonded organotransition metals and compounds, and we will discuss them one by one. So today we are going to discuss the alkene complexes. Alkene complexes which are known as eta 2 type of ligands. So alkene metal bond, it involves both sigma donor and pi acceptor linkages of these ligands, and it appears to play a synergetic role on the strength of these bonds. So the speciality is they are behaving like a sigma donor as well as a pi acceptor. They are donating electron as well as they are accepting the electron from the metal orbitals. So what happens? The bonding, the type of bonding is very strong. The bonding of alkene to metals has been shown to be similar in the metal carbonyls. Just like in case of metal carbonyl that we saw in Dewar-Chad-Dickinson model, the metal is donating its metal is getting electron in its empty d orbital from the ligand, and the metal is donating its electron density to the empty p orbital of the ligand. So that was the type of bonding in metal carbonyl, and the similar is the case of metal alkene complexes as well. Both the ligands are two electron donors, and in fact, the replacement of carbon monoxide in the metal carbonyls by olefin provide a versatile route for synthesis of the latter type of compounds. So, whether you talk about the carbonyl or the alkene, they both are what? They can donate two electrons. So somewhat you can say if they can both they both can donate two electrons. They are showing the similar type of bonding with the metal center. So they are so similar in nature that you can actually replace the carbonyl ligand in the metal carbonyl by an alkene ligand. And this is very important chemical reaction in terms of the organic synthesis. Now, the derivatives of these alkene are also generally more stable with the metal in low oxidation state. Generally, it has been seen that if you're talking about the substituted alkene, they are known to form stable pi bond with the metal, those which are in the low oxidation state. Why? Because only these type of transition metals can back donate their electron density. So this we have discussed repeatedly. We are doing that since the very first lecture. That in case of early transition metals, they exist in the high oxidation state, and they form the bond like exclusively in which the sigma bonding is involved. But in case of late transition metals, since they exist in the low oxidation state, their low oxidation state is stable. So what happens? They have filled d orbital, and they need to donate that filled electron density in the d orbital to some orbital in the ligand. So they are searching for a ligand which is capable of doing that back bonding. Generally, it happens that the alkene, since they are also doing that back bonding type of thing, so the stable complexes, the mostly generally known complexes of alkene are known along with the metal in the low oxidation state. And of course, they are following the Sedgwick 18 electron rule. Only the later transition metals, especially in their lower oxidation state, they are known to form complexes with the monoalkenes. So alkene complexes of transition metals are generally heteroleptic in nature. So if the alkene has to form a complex with some early transition metal, in that case the complex will be heteroleptic. So heteroleptic is what? When so many ligands are involved in the same complex. Like here you can see in case of this rhenium complex, we have carbonyl as well as alkene present in the coordination sphere. So here two type of ligands are present, and similarly this could be the presence of three different ligands and presence of four different ligands. So these type of complexes are they are heteroleptic. When only one type of complex is known, we call it homoleptic. And here the complexation is the heteroleptic one. So in case of the early transition metal or the metal in their higher oxidation state, heteroleptic type of complexes are formed. But if you talk about the homoleptic alkene complexes, in which we only have alkene, like you can see here, this cobalt complex, we have this eta 2 C2H4N, where N could be 1 or 2. So this is what? This is a homoleptic complex. Again, in the case of nickel, these are the homoleptic complex. In case of this palladium, these are the homoleptic complex involving only the alkene ligand. So, homoleptic derivatives are also formed using the alkene as ligand, and they can be isolated in low temperature matrix using metal vapor synthetic procedure. So, they are difficult to prepare. And if any homoleptic complexes are being formed, they will be formed in the low oxidation state of the metal, and where where we have a possibility of pi bonding in them. So moving forward, now let us discuss the methods of preparation. Methods of preparation. So first of all, the reaction is the reaction of metal chloride or carbonyl with alkene. So, this is the simplest method for synthesis of alkene complexes, and the Zeiss salt was prepared by passing ethylene into an aqueous solution of tetrachloroplatinate. So, metal chlorides are really important for the synthesis of alkene complexes, or you can say the carbonyls can also be used for this purpose. And Zeiss salt was prepared by this method. It is very important complex having really historical significance. So, tetrachloroplatinate. This is tetrachloroplatinate, and when it was reacted with the ethylene, what happens here? The Zeiss salt is formed. So, similar reaction can be performed by metal carbonyls, and metal carbonyls when they react with some type of alkene, like you can see here, we have a substituted ethylene. So, when the carbonyls react with such substituted ethylene, again you can see here there is formation of the alkene complex by replacement of one carbonyl ligand. So, one carbonyl is replaced with one alkene ligand, and here the metal could be any of these, like it could be chromium, molybdenum, or tungsten. So here the metal chloride or metal carbonyl can be used for the preparation of metal alkene complexes. Similarly, here is another reaction. We have MHCO3. It is already an alkene complex, and when it reacts with more of ethylene, so what happens here? One carbonyl will be replaced, and we have the alkene complex at high temperature and pressure. The metal could be molybdenum or tungsten. Uh, in another reaction, you can see we have manganese carbonyl halide, and when it reacts with alkene at 140 atmospheric temperature, we get alkene complex of manganese. And similar reaction can be performed with the carbonyl cyclopentadienyl complex of manganese. When it reacts with ethylene under the UV light, one carbonyl is replaced with one alkene, and now carbonyl is removed. So just now we have discussed that the carbonyl and alkene, they have very similar nature, similar type of bonding with the metal, and so it is really easy for the alkene molecule to replace one of the carbonyl from the coordination sphere. That is why these heteroleptic type of carbonyl complexes, they have huge synthetic importance for the preparation of metal alkene complexes. Moving forward, another method for the synthesis of metal alkene complexes, displacement of hydride ion from the coordinated sigma bonded alkyl ligand. So here the reaction that is going to happen is beta hydrogen elimination. So when the beta hydrogen is eliminated from the ligand, then what will happen? You will get an alkene, and that alkene will be now bonded to the metal in non-classical manner. Like you can see here, this is an iron complex, and we have a substituted alkyl group here, CHR CH2R. So what happens when the reaction is performed? You can see here one hydrogen at the beta carbon. So which one is the beta carbon? This is my metal atom, this is my alpha carbon, and this is my beta carbon. So one hydrogen is eliminated from the beta carbon, and when this H is removed from here, what will happen? Now the carbon and carbon, they will have a double bond, and as soon as the double bond is formed, now the iron is not only attached to one carbon, but it is attached to both these carbons at the same time, and that is why we call them a non-classical bond, or you can say a multi-center bond. The bond is not existing between any of the two, but you can say at the same time iron atom is combined with both the carbons, and this if it is combined with the two carbon atom, or it is getting the two electrons, then we call it what? The hepaticity is 2, or we call them dihepto type of ligand, or eta 2. So similarly, in another reaction, you can see again we have the similar type of iron complex here, and the ligand is actually different. Only this part is different. So again, the beta carbon is what? This is my alpha carbon. This is my beta carbon, and H plus base protonation. This condition is provided. So what happens? The protonation actually it it removes this it gets attached to the oxygen of this carbon. Why? Because the oxygen is what? It is electronegative in nature, and it will draw the electron density towards itself and develop a positive charge on the carbon. So this protonation reaction, actually what happens here, the the O get attached with one of the proton, and we get a double bond here. And now what will happen? The say that there is a direct linkage between the iron and the carbon atom here. Like it is written like this here, and here a bracket is applied. So this bracket says what? It says that iron is not combined to this carbon. Rather, it is combined to this and this, both carbon at the same time. So this is what non-classical type of bonding. Then again in this reaction, you can see we have a molybdenum complex, and we have a this group having both alpha, beta, and gamma carbon. So from the beta position, one hydrogen is lost, and what happens here now? The metal alkene complex is formed. So in these reactions, the organic cations like PH3C4, R3O, they have been found quite useful. So how you will use them? You will use them in the form of their metal chloride. So you will use a tertiary phenyl chloride, or here like you can see here some Lewis acid is also used for the extraction of proton. So this was the second method for preparation of metal alkene complex. The third method is reductive alkylation. So what is this method? In these reactions, addition of alkene also involves reduction of transition metal to lower oxidation state. So in these type of reaction, what happens? Uh, Addition of alkene takes place, and the reduction of transition metal occurs to its lower oxidation state. So a metal alkene complex is formed. So that is why it is known as reductive alkylation, because it involves both the addition of an alkene and the reduction of the metal ion center. Like you can see here a chloride of rhenium, when it reacts with the alkene molecule in the presence of alcohol, what happens? Like you can see here, two chlorides are removed from the metal center, and when the two chlorides are removed, now obviously there will be reduction of the rhenium. Why? Because the chloride will give its electron to the metal. So from +3 state, it is converted to +1 state here. So you can see here the reduction of rhenium 3 plus to rhenium 1 plus ion, and also you can see the addition of the two alkene molecules into the coordination sphere. Now in place of two chloride ligand, you have two alkene ligands, and they are also what? They are non-classically bonded. So this eta 2 actually represent the non-classical type of bonding. So this is the process of reductive alkylation. A similar process is also depicted in this reaction also. So in this reaction, you can see the nickel salt, the nickel metal. It is forming a stable complex with the alkene moiety that we are going to provide, and uh, also it is accompanying the reduction of the nickel atom. So from +2 state of the nickel, it is reducing to uh, 0 state of the nickel. Now let us discuss the type of bonding and structure in metal alkene complexes. These alkene actually resemble the carbon monoxide in their ability to complex with transition metal ion. and particularly those with the D8 to D10 configuration. So, in this criteria also they are similar with the carbonyls. They tend to form complex with metal ions having their electronic configuration from D8 to D10. And let us discuss what type of bonding exists. So, a more elegant description of the bonding in terms of sigma pi scheme was suggested by Dewar for silver 1 olefin complex, and it was used by Chat and Dickinson. So, we have discussed Dewar Chat Dickinson model already, and the model was earlier given for the silver 1 olefin complex, and later it was given for the platinum complex. So, the molecular orbital approach as developed by Dewar, Chet, and Dickinson incorporates so many ideas. So the first idea is according to the Dewar-Chat-Dickinson model for alkene complexes, especially for the metal alkene complex. The first point, what is this? A vacant 5d orbital of the silver or a vacant 5d62 orbital of the platinum atom is overlapped by the bonding molecular orbital of ethene to give a sigma type bond. So, in the first point, they are discussing about the formation of a sigma type of bond. So, sigma bond is what? When the metal is getting electrons from the ligand. So, the sigma bond is, you can see here we have a vacant 5d orbital of metal. It could be on the silver or platinum, and we have the molecular orbital of the ethene, and this molecular orbital is representing the pi electrons, right? In between these two carbons, this is the sigma bond, and this density above and below the sigma bond, it is representing the pi electrons. So, in the first case, what will happen? There will be formation of sigma bond between metal and carbon. So, the sigma bonding is what? When the pi electrons of the alkene they are donated to the empty orbitals of metal atom center. The second idea is the a pi type of bond is formed. This is the type of pi bonding by overlapping a filled 4d orbital of silver atom or a 5d 6p hybrid orbital of the platinum atom with anti-bonding pi to 2p molecular orbitals of alkene. So we have seen the molecular orbitals in case of alkene and especially in case of ethene. So in case of ethene, if we talk about the pi molecular orbitals, there will be two p orbitals on each of the carbon. They will go for the linear combination of atomic orbital, and what will happen now? One bonding and one anti-bonding molecular orbitals will be formed. So the bonding molecular orbital, it will get the two electrons with itself. So this bonding orbital will donate the electron to the empty orbitals of the metal, and the pi star anti-bonding molecular orbital, it is empty, so it will receive electrons from the filled metal orbitals. So in the first case, when we have when the ethene is donating its bonding MO electrons to the metal orbital, this is formation of a sigma bond that we have just seen. And in case of in the second case, when the ethene is accepting electrons from the filled metal electron orbitals, so there will be formation of a pi bond. So this is what you can see here. These are the anti-bonding orbital of ethene. They are getting electron density from the filled metal orbitals, and this actually represent the d orbital of the metal having electrons in them. So they are now overlapping with the anti-bonding molecular orbital of ethene. So this is what formation of a pi bond, or generally it is said to be the backbone. So both type of linkages, the sigma and the pi bond, they can be represented from this diagram. Here you can see this is my metal center, this is my metal center, and this is the ligand ethene. So this is the bonding molecular orbital of ethene, and this one is the anti-bonding molecular orbital. So this bonding molecular orbital will combine with the empty orbital of platinum, and the anti-bonding will combine with the filled metal orbitals of the platinum. So this is formation of a sigma and pi bond when the ethene molecule combines with the platinum atom. So in this diagram, both the donation of the pi electron density from the alkene to metal and accumulation of electronic charge in the olefin anti-bonding pi 2 star 2p orbital would be expected to lower the pi bond order of the coordinate alkene, because now the bond strength will be really high. So the bond order will be low. This has been supported by the bathochromic shift in the IR spectra of alkene complexes as well as by the X-ray. So this type of bonding is actually supported by the experimental fact and a bathochromic shift. Bathochromic shift is when your absorption maxima shift towards the longer wavelength side. So we call it a bathochromic shift. And generally, bathochromic shift occurs when lower energy transitions are occurring. So the bathochromic shift is observed. So this has been seen for the alkene complexes, and similar evidences have been collected from the X-ray studies. So the influence of the coordination, both the sigma and pi back donation processes involved in the formation of metal olefin complexes results in the weakening of olefin double bond. So now, because the pi electrons have been donated to the metal atom center, now the double bond between the carbon and carbon, this will be weakened. So that is why the the characteristic absorption frequency of this carbon-carbon double bond is shifted towards the longer wavelength, and we call it what? The bathochromic shift, which is seen in case of the IR spectroscopy. So here you can see the carbon-carbon double bond of the olefin is now weakened, and it is demonstrated in lowering in the uh, we see double bond C stretching by 50 to 160 centimeter inwards. So the stretching frequency observed for the free propene is what? 1652 centimeter inwards. And when it is combined with the metal atom, what will happen? This double bond stretching frequency reduces by 148 centimeter inwards, and it becomes 1504 centimeter inwards. So this lowering of the absorption characteristic absorption wave number, it shows that the alkene molecule is now attached with the metal atom. It is forming bond with the metal atom, and the carbon and carbon double bond is now weakened. That is due to the donation of the pi electron density to the metal atom center. Now the strength of this pi back bonding of metal with the alkene, it depends on the nature of the other ligand bonded to metal. So here we also have to consider what are the other type of ligands already present on the metal center. So it has been observed that in the complexes of this type, RHL, C2H4, C2F4, where L could be ACAC or C5H5. So the RC2H4 bond distance, that is what? That is 2.01 to 2.02 angstrom, is shorter than the analogous C2H4 bond distance, and substantiates the expectation that the electron withdrawing substituent could enhance the pi acceptor ability. So the pi acceptor ability also matters here in case of C2H4, where we have an electron withdrawing substituent, that is fluorine, attached on the ethylene. So it increases the pi bonding pi acceptor ability. So what happens here now, when you measure the bond distance? Now in this case we have fluorine involved, so fluorine is having high electron negativity and electron withdrawing nature. So it will withdraw the metal electrons towards itself, and the back bond, that is the pi bond, getting formed between the metal center and the ligand, it would be stronger when you have electron withdrawing substituent. So the back donation will be more effective when your alkene is having some electron withdrawing substituent. So this bond distance, when you measure the bond distance in case of a C2H4, the bond distance are shorter as compared to the analogous P2H4 bond distance, which is longer in case. So when the bond distance is shorter, it shows that the bond strength is really high. And why it is so? Because now in place of hydrogen we have fluorine atom involved, and fluorine is what? It is strongly electron withdrawing in nature. So now it becomes easy for the metal to donate its electron to the alkene ligand, and since the alkene ligand is accepting those electrons very tightly, so the uh, bond of high strength is formed here, and therefore the bond distances, the bond length become shorter. So here the effect of substituents is also significant. Now, the nuclear magnetic resonance studies, they indicate that alkene are in the general non-rigidly bonded to the transition metal. And these complexes are therefore often fluxional in nature. So what is this fluxionality? We know that the metal is bonded to the both the carbon, and you can also say that suppose if we have a platinum here, so if the platinum is forming a bond with the olefin, then you can say that platinum is combined with both the carbons. So it is not directly attached to any of the carbon. So what happens here? This type of bonding is of non-rigid nature. And if it is not a rigid bond, then what will happen? Now the rotation around the bond is possible. So what type of rotation is possible? Like if this is my metal atom here, so this alkene molecule, this is my alkene C, and it may have any substituent, and this is the plane of the alkene molecule. So it can rotate on its axis vertically, and from this type, from here the rotation A is you can see the rotation A, the alkene can rotate on its axis, and also it can rotate along the axis perpendicular to its plane, that is the rotation B. So the rotation A and rotation B, they both are possible because the alkene is attached to metal atom in a non-rigid fashion. The bond is not rigid, and the metal atom is not directly attached to any of the carbon. So this non-rigid attachment of alkene to the transition metal, it permits the rotation either of a barrel type. Barrel type is the rotation of the metal alkene axis as shown in case of B. So this is the barrel type of rotation. This axis is passing through the alkene plane, and alkene is rotating along this. This is a barrel type of rotation. So this rotation is possible, and that is why such type of complexes are fluxional in nature. The structure of these complexes are analogous to the distorted square, which generally polymerizes. So here you can see the polymerization is also seen, like in case of this ethylene complex of rhodium chloride, it exists in the form of a dimer. After linking with the metal, chemistry of the ligand changes to a great extent. Free alkene is fond of electrophilic reaction. Why? Because the alkene is having pi electron density. So, what type of reactions will be shown? It will show electrophilic reaction where any electrophile will attack on the pi electron density. So, these are the common reactions of alkene molecule. But when it is combined with the metal, what will happen? It will donate that pi electron density to the empty orbitals of metal. And now what will happen? Now these pi electrons are no longer localized over the alkene molecule. So it becomes deficient of electron, and now it will become the nucleophilic in nature. Perhaps the carbon become more positive. So this phenomena of non-rigid attachment of alkene to the transition metal, it was also investigated for this type of complex, and the study was done by H1 NMR spectroscopy. So this type of complex is also found to have a fluxional nature. So here you can see the hydrogens were labeled, and HiHO, HiHO. Hi is the inner hydrogen, and HO is the outer hydrogen. So in this type of compound, when the H1 NMR spectroscopy were used, it was seen that the spectrum recorded at minus 19 degrees Celsius depicts two distinct types of environment about the protons. The proton labeled as HO outer appear to give downfold multiplets and the upfield multiplets could be ascribed to the inner protons. So downfield multiplets actually shows the de-shielding of the electrons. So in case of the outer hydrogen, the signal was de-shielded, and in case of the inner protons, upfield signals are obtained. So both are hydrogens, but they are, since in the different environment, they will show different signal in the H1 NMR. So these discrete signals were explained on the basis that at low temperature, rotation of the olefin becomes so slow that it does not affect the observation in the NMR spectrum of two distinct environments for the rotation in the molecule. So the experiment was performed in the 19 degrees Celsius minus 19 degrees Celsius temperature, and at this much of the low temperature rotation, the fluxional nature of the complex was not shown. So what happened? The hydrogen atoms, they got two different electronic environments, and as a result of this, in the NMR spectroscopy, two different signals were obtained. But what happens when the temperature is raised? When you increase the temperature, now the molecule is getting sufficient energy in order to get rotated. So when the temperature is raised, rotation of the ethene molecule about metal alkene bond tends to make all the ethene proton magnetically equivalent. So when the rotation is possible, there will be no outer or inner hydrogen. They will be exchanged continuously, the outer hydrogen and the inner hydrogen, they both are changing their places constantly, continuously, and therefore now in the H1 NMR signal, only one signal, one broad signal is obtained. You cannot differentiate the signal of inner and outer hydrogens because they are constantly rotating and changing their position. So now I will ask a few questions quickly. First is alkene and alkyne. They are what? The alkene and alkyne, they are dihaptoligands. They are eta 2 and eta 2. Both are eta 2 or dihaptoligands. Then the eta 2, first eta 2 dihapto transition metal complex that was discovered. Which was that complex? If you remember the name, is really a very important complex. Its name kept on repeating during the entire presentation. It was disalt. So in disalt, sigma bonding takes place between the hybrid orbital of platinum. Which hybrid orbital of platinum? That you need to remember what type of orbitals of platinum are involved in the bonding, and pi bonding molecular orbital of the ethylene were involved. So 5d 6p hybrid orbital of platinum was involved, and pi bonding molecular orbital of ethylene was involved. And when the pi bonding takes place, so it happens between the uh, filled d orbital of the platinum and pi star, that is anti bonding molecular orbital of the ethylene. So that is all from my side. Thank you everyone for joining.